we're going to talk about Black Friday basics. We're just going to bring it back to the essentials, the 101. We're going to talk about Black Friday reporting. And the reason why reporting is so important and why you might want to start thinking about reporting even before your Black Friday offers even start to hit is because reporting is going to let you know which of your creative bets actually paid off this season. So if you think about reporting, you think about your strategy, they kind of go hand in hand. You think about what am I actually going to learn from this season? What do I want to report and document that I want to take away for next year or for the next sale that I'm going to run? So today specifically, we're going to walk you through a little bit of the fundamentals of creative reporting in Motion. So if you're familiar with Motion, just hang on with us while we just go over a couple of quick things. So just like go over the basics. The one report that we think you should keep open all Black Friday long, just to keep yourself sane and on the nose. The Black Friday, Cyber Monday strategies that I use as a creative strategist every year and how to track them, how to track a few more creative elements with AI tags, which is a new feature in Motion, and how to do a little bit of high-level creative analysis in Motion. In the meantime, you might also get some very last-minute Black Friday, Cyber Monday ideas. I am personally a fan of being like very boots on the ground, very in it, and ready to pivot. Just because you planned for 6 months or 3 months or 3 weeks or what have you, doesn't mean that you can't change your plan and pivot. So if you have any ideas today, that's like maybe a bonus sidebar. And speaking of which, let's do one more quick poll before we dive into reporting. Just curious, how's your Black Friday planning? Are you done? Are you working on it? Or are you scrambling? Because I know there's going to be a few people who are scrambling. Nice. Cool. Okay. While you guys answer the poll, let's go ahead and dive into the fundamentals of creative strategy and creative reporting in Motion. So Motion has 3 types of reports. They're all creative first, like Melissa said. The big thing about Motion versus Facebook Ads Manager is we really bring your creative to the forefront. And there are 3 specific kinds of reports that you've probably become familiar with in Motion if you're a customer. The first one is our launch analysis, where you organize all of your ads by launch date. So this is where you can check for initial performance metrics like spend and ROAS. You can spot some initial strengths and weaknesses with our custom Motion metrics, which are hook score, watch score, click score, and convert score. And I would say it's an underutilized report if we do say so ourselves. Would you agree, Quinn?
I would very much agree. I usually talk to 1 of 2 people, one person who has all the information and is constantly pestered, is this live? Is this live? How's it doing? What's going on? And they're tired of answering those questions. Launch analysis is the answer. Give visibility to everybody. Let everybody have the information. Or the other person who is, slacking that question over and over again. They get into launch analysis. They see what's launched. They see what's performing, and they feel a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, same. That was me working in-house as a creative strategist with a media buyer, an external media buyer, and at an agency where I was working on the creative team and we had a growth team. I was constantly like, wait, is my ad live? Is my ad live? Is my ad live? Like looking for that dopamine hit of like wanting to see the conversion. So launch analysis, I always had open and refreshing just so I could keep my finger on the pulse. It's great. Then the report that you probably see and hear the most about is Top Ads. Top Ads is our like classic Top Ads report where you can compare all of your individual ads, and unlike Meta Ads Manager, instead of sorting by campaign and ad set, you just sort by ad. They're all aggregated. So we have this big, beautiful card view that creative people just love because you can see it's like colorful, very creative first. And then we have that table view with the more granular metrics. And the way that I like to describe this report is it's like Meta Ads Manager if it didn't suck. And you can kind of see some of our AI tags in here. You can see they're very colorful and they just add more color to it. I'm a big fan of color. Have I said color enough? That's great. Nice. Okay, and then last we have our comparative report, which is where you can compare groups of ads. So you can apply different filters from the ad set, and campaign names, and you can apply filters on top of your groups, like just layer in filter after filter. And previously, this is really only useful to brands with really robust naming conventions that you could filter through. However, now with AI tags, all of your ads are automatically tagged in Motion in 7, technically 8 different categories, which means you are someone who's like, oh man, naming conventions, I need to get around to that. Or maybe your naming conventions aren't exactly up to snuff or where you'd like them to be. There's some discrepancies, reporting is tough. We've taken care of a lot of the essential things that you can track with AI tags, which is great. So you can use these as a replacement for naming conventions. You can pair them with your naming conventions, and you can use them to unlock deeper creative insights, which we're going to show you how to do in today's presentation.
So excited.
So more on this later, but for now, let's talk about what we're tracking. So how to track your Black Friday creative with Motion reports and AI tags. My gifts are not working today, but that's okay. You get the point. My first question for you, Quinn, let's talk about our first report. If I plan to glue my eyes to my screen for 72 hours straight, because it is the season, do you have a report for that? What would you recommend?
I would recommend not doing 72 hours straight. It can't be good for your eyes, your brain, just your general mental well-being. But if you're, hell-bent on doing it, I would start with launch analysis. I think that's a great place to begin. You're going to see those new creatives go live, especially if you guys are doing any kind of live changes or iterations as Black Friday, Cyber Monday goes out. As you guys are collecting learnings, pivoting, changing things, you can see those changes go live. And then the best part of this is you're going to get a nice steady dopamine drip because you're going to see those creatives start to scale, and you're going to see how many winners are populating. Ideally, you see 100% hit rate. That typically doesn't happen, but we get more and more winners. We're going to feel better and better about ourselves. So this is a good place to start. And also, you'll notice in this screenshot, we've got a variety of motion metrics there. You'll be able to quickly identify areas of opportunity, any patterns in top performers. Do we have a set of creatives that are doing a great job at driving clicks or capturing attention? Is there an iteration opportunity? Is there something we need to tweak to get another winner? So a really good starting point in launch analysis.
Nice. And how does Motion know whether something has scaled or when?
It's a great question. So in this report, we try to keep it bare bones. It's pretty high level dashboard. There's not tons of immediate customization. To change the scaled section, you'll actually need to go into your data sources. So account settings, data sources, and then edit meta, or your metadata source, and you'll have a field there for spend threshold. This is really just if I see a winner, if I see ROAS over 3, or whatever my target KPI is, how much spend do I need behind that for it to be statistically significant or to have enough sample size, for instance. And then in this report, we can change that goal metric in the top left. So that's going to dictate what a winner looks like. And that can be any performance metric that we pull in from Facebook, could be ROAS, CPCs, CPA, any metric you guys want.
Nice. I love it. And then I also wanted to throw in this extra view in here for those of you who really love the card view. I am one of them. I love that the launch analysis has that table view and the card view, which is incredible. I should also mention too, we've got lots of screenshots of reports in here, but please feel free if you're wondering wait, how do I get to launch analysis? How do I set up that metric for myself? How do I apply this filter? Please feel free to drop a question in the Q&A, and then we can open up our demo account at the end and walk you through those steps. But for now, we've just got some screenshots of reports. So nice. Okay, the next thing I want to ask you, Quinn, is I have these kind of 5 Black Friday, Cyber Monday ad types that I refer to every single year. So let me walk you through them real quick just so you have context. So the first one is my evergreen ads. A lot of people on LinkedIn and X, especially right now, will say your best Black Friday ad will probably be an evergreen one. And that's because you should not turn them off. You should just let them run and enjoy their time during Black Friday. So these are just the ones that I are already live and I'm keeping them on during Black Friday. My next bucket is what I like to call lazy ads. They're not really lazy ads, and sorry, these are also GIFs that are not moving, but you'll get the context. This is where I take a hook, a headline, a badge, or a banner for Black Friday, and I pair it with one of my top evergreen ads from the last 6 or 3 months, or maybe even an evergreen ad that I think might have a second life, and I just throw a banner on top of it. So in this example, we've got a couple from Our Place where they've taken a top performing UGC and they've added a Black Friday hook on it. They've also got some video that they've probably leveraged previously in the year, and they've created this beautiful frame around it. So it's really just taking those top performing ads and throwing a Black Friday offer on it. Then my third bucket is what I call my learned ads. So these aren't fully net new, but they're also not iterations. This is where I leverage those product photos, lifestyle photos, the creators that have worked best for me, my visual formats, my hooks, anything that I have collected over the course of a year that I know works, that I want to repurpose in an ad. And I think this Our Place ad is a perfect example. I can't tell you how many dozens of times I've probably seen this grid format from Our Place show up on my For You page. Clearly it's working for them, and they're using it yet again for Black Friday this year. And then we've got the Udi on the right where they've cut up a bunch of their best B-roll from UGC throughout the year. And then finally, I've got my wild card bucket, which is what I like to call the Super Bowl ads of Black Friday. So these are the ads that take a bigger risk. They're a bit more unusual, but they have the potential reward of standing out in a feed full of crowded discounts. There's a True Classic ad on the top left, which is just a screenshot of a text message. It's so funny. It's basically a guy where he seems like he's kind of flirting with his girlfriend, but then she goes, "Is this an ad?" And he's like, "That's why you can get your t-shirts at True Classic for 20% off." It's very funny. So like these are the kind of like funnier ones that a lot of the D2C people, a lot of the LinkedIn and Twitter bros will share, but they also like stand out because they're a little bit different on the feed. So these are the 5 buckets that I put my creative in. Is there a way for me to track these 5 buckets or filter down into these in Motion?
Of course there is. We're going to dive into it. Also, I love the wildcard ads. Nothing gets me more excited than a funny ad. Please, guys, take some shots, take some gambles this year. Like let's get wild with it. And let's say you do that and you follow this exact structure, or really any kind of structure that relies on some internal semantics or some like strategy that you guys are building. Ideally, or I guess historically, we would want naming conventions to build our comparative reports and segment by those different labels we have in the naming. But if your naming looks like a jigsaw puzzle or a zodiac letter, it's all good. We have manual tags and AI tags we can use. So in this report that we're showing here, we're actually using one of our AI tags that we'll dive deeper into later, our seasonality tag that's marking those evergreen creatives, those creatives that have been running all year. And then on top of that, we can manually tag any individual creatives as they go live, as lazy ad or learned ad or offer ad or wildcard. And then we can pull and create this report here to automatically pull in those manually tagged assets. So between naming conventions, manual tags, and AI tags, we should have all the flexibility we need to build the reporting views that we rely on during Black Friday, Cyber Monday.
Nice. And then I have this slide here that tells you how you can dive into one of them. So can you just like walk me through that process?
Yes, and I think this is going to be a theme throughout, some of the things we talk about today, starting in a comparative report and then, getting these high level directional insights and then digging deeper into individual top performing reports. So as you've put down here in the screenshots, we can dive into one of those groups like the wildcard group in our ad breakdown. We're going to highlight a couple of those individual assets in a little side window. And then we're going to have a create top performing report to kind of seamlessly guide us into that next step, which is diving into these individual assets. And here, if I find that wildcards are doing really well for me, this is where I understand like where is that performance coming from? Is it all the ads? Is it one ad? Is it 2 ads? Are there iteration opportunities in these ads? All those individual creative questions that we have, we can dive into here and ideally get some answers.
Mm-hmm. I noticed a question in the chat, which is relevant to the one screenshot that we just shared, asking, will a lot of ads be automatically tagged as evergreen, or does it analyze other factors too? So the way that our AI tags work is it looks just at the ad, only the ad, not the ad copy, not the campaign, not the ad set, nothing else. And it just asks, it's like prompted to ask itself, like, what season does this ad belong to? And if there's not a clear season, so if it's not clear that it's Black Friday, Cyber Monday, gifting, winter, summer, Labor Day, birthday, anything, if none of that is called out in any way, shape, or form on the ad, and it clearly could just run evergreen, it will just tag it evergreen, which is very handy because that means that you can split out your evergreen ads, and everything that is actually for Black Friday that says Black Friday sale will be tagged Black Friday. Everything that says Cyber Monday will be tagged Cyber Monday. So it's very useful to like layer in and pair in addition to your naming conventions and those manual tags. Love the gift choice, by the way. Nice. All right, the next one I want to walk through is I also have a seasonal offer stack. So your offers might look a little bit different, but these are the ones that I'm typically accustomed to running. It's not just Black Friday and Cyber Monday. It's pre-Black Friday. It's Black Friday. It's Cyber Monday. It's gifting. It's even New Year. Like you might have multiple different offers that you're layering in throughout this season. So can I track offers in Motion? I ask as if I don't know the answer.
I was going to say you built it, Alysha. Yes, we can. We've got it with our AI tags. So one of those multiple properties we're tracking with our AI system is going to be offer. It's diving into that creative, trying to ascertain what is that offer. Is there a specific offer? Is it a specific, time period offer? You'll see here we've got Cyber Monday, Black Friday, pre-Black Friday, all of this pulling directly from the creative. So whatever we're messaging in that asset in regards to offer, that AI tag is getting applied based on that. So this report also is automated. We've been talking about like building those comparative reports where you're saying, this AI tag is this manual tag is this naming convention is that. when you go into a comparative report now with our AI tags, you'll be able to drop down, select seasonality, select offer, and immediately pull these different comparison points.
Nice. And then you can even dive into individual offers, right? Like this is a Black Friday one.
Yep, same kind of thing, starting high level on the comparative report. And then we have a question from there. We say, oh my God, this, during Black Friday section is doing really well for us. Let's dive deeper, figure out what our top performers or our bottom performers are and what's driving performance.
Nice. Love it. Cool. All right, the next question I have for you is for another AI tag related question. So now is not the time to be really exploring a lot of new audiences. I know with the Andromeda conversation, it's all about personas and exploring new people to attract, but hopefully you've been doing some of that work in the last, 8 to 10 months, and you really know who your customers are. If not, maybe you're planning to do a little bit more of that moving into 2026. But for now, the one audience that I think has the most opportunity that maybe it didn't other times during the year is that gifting audience. So I feel like the Perfect Gene does a really great job. Actually, a lot of those like funny man brands do these like really funny ones where it's the girlfriend who's saying like 3 reasons why you got to buy your boyfriend these jeans for his birthday or something like that. This is an audience that you can really leverage during this time of year, and an audience that's going to be like more relevant than ever with gifting season coming up. So how can I track that audience and see if that audience is having any significant impact on my Black Friday performance?
Drum roll. Answer is AI tags. We've got intended audience. We are actually reverse engineering based on what's going on in that creative. Who are you speaking to in this creative, or who are you trying to speak to? Intended is the the emphasis there. So are we directly going after gifters? Are we saying, hey, this is the perfect product for your girlfriend, your mother, your dad, your dog, etc.? And we're pulling that information in and organizing it by that intended audience tag. So one, we can dive in and see how those different intended audiences are performing. Are we seeing a major spike in that, as expected in that gifting category? If not, is there something we need to change about the way we're positioning our gifting assets? Is there something we're missing from the perspective of a gifter? And so I think, one, getting the data, getting that analysis is really helpful. But another thing that Alysha and I talk about a lot is like, kind of forcing or nudging people to really take time to think about audiences, about personas. These aren't necessarily personas, and intended audience aren't necessarily one-to-one, but it gives us thinking about like, who are we trying to communicate with and what are they looking for in a product, in an ad, what's catching their attention? All of those questions are going to be really helpful.
Nice. And then you compare it with this also, creative insights inside of Motion. Can you tell me a little bit more about this?
Yeah, so when intended audience tag first came out, I got so excited because honestly, I think it was pretty early when I started at Motion. I was working with a client, and it was during Black Friday, Cyber Monday, or shortly after, and they had been digging in with me on a call live with one asset, and we jump into Creative Insights. So you open that preview, there's going to be a Creative Insights button above the preview, and then if you go to this performance tab and scroll down, you'll see gender and age breakdown within. So this is who we're delivering that specific asset to. This data is coming directly from Meta, so we can see if we look at impressions, where are we delivering it? And then if we change that metric to any performance metrics, we can see how those audiences or how those demographics are interacting with our ad. And so in this case with the client, we walked through and they built a very masculine ad. It's like a lot of boy colors, boy energy. And they noticed that it was delivering primarily to men. Meta was like, cool, boy ad, send them in. And then they looked at click-through rate, and dudes weren't clicking on it. They were like, I see through you, Meta. I see through you, the D2C brand. But their girlfriends were like, he got me a crap gift last year. I don't really need to put that much effort into it. I got an ad. Awesome. I'm describing a really poor relationship, and I apologize for that. But these girlfriends were seeing it hypothetically, or the hypothesis was this, and they were clicking on the ad, buying the ad, and they found they had built a really solid gifting ad that was targeting girlfriends. So what's the next step there? Is like, hey, we need to kind of re-engineer, deliver to more women, to more girlfriends, to more gifters. Let's tweak this ad. Let's change the color scheme, tweak the messaging, and let's capitalize on this new bit of performance. So all that to say, intended audience ideally takes some of that manual labor out, but this is always a really good thing to check in on during Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and honestly, throughout the year as you're looking at ad performance. Who are we delivering to? And then do we see any surprises in performance data across those demographics?
Yeah, I love it. And I will say too, a lot of the feedback that we get, I would say intended audience is the one category where people are a little confused and often want to change it. But I think we as CSMs or as people who are learning about the features really prompt our customers to say, why do you want to change it? Do you think that it's communicating to somebody different? And we often find that when you actually like reflect back on what's actually in the ad, who it's speaking to maybe wasn't exactly who you intended it to speak to. Or very interestingly, sometimes you are speaking to one particular person, but a different person is buying. So that like correlation between this intended audience tag and the age and gender breakdown that you can get in motion is really, really powerful. And I love it.
Awesome. Yeah. Also, real quick, I just noticed in the Q&A tab, I've got a quick question. Monique, if you're still with us, you asked, how do I get to the launch analysis view? Real quick, in the platform, in the top left corner, you're going to see a create report button. Hit that, and you're going to have launch analysis as an option. One caveat here is launch analysis is specific to Facebook. So if you're not seeing it, make sure you have a Facebook data source connected. And then if that question is still plaguing you at the end of the call, we can do some screen sharing and figuring out.
Nice. Thanks. I love that. Okay. More questions for you, Quinn. I was watching a video by Fraser Cottrell, shout out to Fraser, and he said that last year over $10 billion a day was spent on Black Friday, and 60% of that was new customers. And that's kind of interesting because the way that I think about my ads also is I really like now is not the time to be attracting new customers per se, but when I do think about who I'm selling to during Black Friday, there's kind of two buckets that I put them in. There's the cart preppers. They're the people who are like, on Black Friday, I'm buying this. Like you can't convince me otherwise. It's happening. I'm literally waiting until the day. They probably have their cart loaded. They're going to wait for the moment that they see the ad that says it's on sale, and then they're going to buy. There's like almost no work to be done there. Those are the people that we make ads that say, buy it, it's on sale for. Then there's the other people who are the impulse buyers. These are people who are planning to spend, and maybe they have a little bit of extra pocket change that they know they're going to save up and like use during Black Friday, but it's not like bookmarked or earmarked or whatever that saying is for one particular product. It is possible for them to impulse buy your product. It's kind of like when you're like standing in the Sephora line and you're like, oh, like the thing that I came here to buy was a little bit less expensive than I expected to. So like, what should I pick up that I don't actually need here? Those are the people that I'm also converting. So there's like lots of people who might know about your product, not be convinced about it yet, but they might buy it during Black Friday. So how can I find out what messaging, if any, is the messaging that like pushes them over the edge and makes them decide to spend that extra cash with me?
I don't have any fancy ways to say AI tags, but I think we all saw it coming, AI tags. We are tracking messaging angle as well. So this is going to be a really helpful one, both Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and then also beyond, like understanding what are the different angles we're using to convey our products or really our solutions to people's problems, because most of the time that is what we're doing. So how are we conveying that? What value prop, narrative are we delivering? And in this case, messaging angle for Black Friday, Cyber Monday is going to really help us understand, like, are we conveying a story around gifting? Are we conveying a story around, solving a problem that someone didn't realize they had, but they're an impulse purchaser and they're ready to action on it? Or are we just, really hammering home that offer or like this limited time scarcity moment that's going to get people to pull the trigger on that, item that's been sitting in the cart forever. So tracking all those different narratives is going to be really helpful in our comparative report. And then when we see one or two or three or all of them are doing really well, that's when we dive back into the top performing, we drill down, we get deeper insights. So here we can start evaluating more creative oriented metrics on individual creatives. So I might say, cool, this messaging angle is working really well, it's converting, but oh my God, I see that this particular creative isn't capturing attention as well as I'd like. We've got an awesome piece of content that is driving conversions, it's driving clicks. If I can just grab a little bit more attention in the beginning, then I've got a larger pool of people that might buy. So let me make a quick iteration, let me make a quick change. And now I've gone from like high level to deep dive, and I've got an iteration opportunity, a new creative opportunity, and ideally more money coming in and more winners in launch analysis.
Nice. I do see one question coming through about AI tags. Where and how can we get access to the AI tags feature? So you should have AI tags already in your account. If you don't and you have a dedicated CSM, or if you're at an agency, please reach out to somebody. But if you go to filter in a top ads report, if you go to a comparative report, you can use AI tags just like anything else in the product. It's already there for you. So I don't know, Quinn, if you have like a better, more directional answer to that other than it should be there already.
It should be there already. If it's not, CSM is the way to go. If you don't have a CSM, reach out to our support team and we should be able to get you sorted out. That's going to be in the bottom right corner. It's a big blue button. And our support team's there all day, ready to rock, help you out. all day during working hours. For the sake of the support team, I'll go ahead and make that clarification. They might get mad at me if I don't.
Nice. And then I see another question from John about, can the AI help with taking past insights from high performers and give editing advice for how an ad should be put together? Yes. And I think the answer to your question is coming up in another thing that we're going to show you, which is some AI trickery that we have available in Motion also. I don't want to call it trickery. It's a feature. Yeah, that we'll go over shortly, but we do also have AI reporting as well. So we'll go through that together. Cool. All right. I have more questions for you though, Quinn, you're not done. All right. What about Andromeda though? What about visual diversity? What do I do, Quinn? What do I do? It has to be diverse, right? How diverse? Really diverse? How can I make it diverse? Can I say diverse any more times? Okay. How can I differentiate my creative, or is there a way to track creative differentiation in Motion to help give me some kind of peace of mind or direction about creative differentiation with Andromeda?
Yeah, this is probably just the one area we didn't think about when building AI tag. Psych, we've got it. Visual format. Boom, another AI tag property. We're tracking, we're evaluating. What are those unique visual formats that we're running with in our creative? Are we doing a grid swap? Are we doing a listicle? Are we doing a testimonial or a man on the street format? All those things that, again, traditionally would be tracked on the naming convention side, or you'd have an intern go and manually tag and develop carpal tunnel at the age of 26. All those things now are done by AI tags. So jumping in here, same kind of process where we're evaluating, cool, like what are the things really moving the needle for us? Are we diversified? That question can really be answered by looking at that comparison report pulled automatically. And we see, cool, do I have 4 visual formats? It's not super diversified. Do I have 25 and they're all getting like fairly equal amounts of spend? That's a much better look. So this is a really good initial gut check. And we'll talk about some other AI things that'll factor into diversity down the line, but I'll hold on that one.
Yeah, and the first one that you see here is called Offer First Banner. That's kind of like that big, bold offer that we were talking about before. And then we've got like collage, slideshow, but this is also where you'll see things like us versus them and feature point out and testimonial and demo. And hopefully you have tried a bunch of those things, but there's also a way to see some things that you have not tried, which is like a sneaky backwards way. But can you tell me a little bit more about that, Quinn?
Yes. So the AI is informed, it's educated on so many different visual formats. And so when you build out this report and you scroll down, and maybe you might have to move over to like the second tab in the table view, but you're eventually going to see a variety of visual formats that you're not currently running with, that don't have any data tied to them. And you'll see 0 ads running green screen or grid swap or humor or influencer endorsement. This is a great starting point for saying, cool, what aren't we running? It's really easy to say, oh, I'm not diverse. Great. Awesome. Not very helpful. But diving in here and saying, oh my God, here's a bunch of different ideas for visual formats that I can chase, that I can start creating briefs around and informing my future diversification plans.
Nice. I love it. And also for context, I just happened to know because I counted them yesterday. Our AI is given a list or is trained on 64 different visual formats. And if you have created a format that is not a part of that list, it will also tag that and come up with a name with it, which is incredible. So who knows, maybe you'll see 64 on this list that you can work on, or the less, the better, the more diverse you must be. But either way, they're going to show up there at the end of your comparative report, which is great. And then there's one other way to analyze your creative diversity in Motion, which is also kind of new. Our CEO may have gone a little wild with this one, but tell me about the Analyze My Creative Diversity task, Quinn.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it was exactly one-to-one narratively the way I'm going to say it, but Andromeda kind of came about or started being talked about much more shortly after AI tags. And so we inadvertently gave a very nice system for people to evaluate their diversity and ideally get some insight into how an LLM evaluates and buckets their creatives. And so we wanted to take that and give a very easy analysis of overarching creative diversity. So when you run this task, what it's doing is leveraging all of those AI tags that have already been applied in your creatives, your account, looking at spend and performance in the last 30 days and basically saying, cool, we've got visual diversity, we've got messaging diversity. Let's look at all those tags and let's see where percent spend lies across them. Are we 90% of our spend going to one visual format or one messaging angle? Not super diverse. We probably want to split spend amongst those. We probably want to have more different elements coming into our account and driving performance. And so this output will run automatically. I've seen it take anywhere from 1 minute to like 5 minutes. I think that's a safe range to give. But once it's done, you'll be able to basically, you click that button, top left corner, you're going to have something that says inbox. Go to the inbox, and then you can click into that and you'll see your diversity audit. And right now we're just seeing like the high level, your medium diverse, low diversity, high diversity. But as you scroll down, it'll dig into a little bit more information on each of those different parameters and ideally get the gears turning on how you guys can, make a difference in your diversification.
Love it. So this might actually
diversity coming out of my mouth.
It's a big word for Elmo. So this might be a good starting place too, before you've even made any of those comparative reports and you want to know where you should start first. Like just click that button in the top right, analyze my creative diversity, and I might say you're not very visually diverse in visual formats. You're not very diverse in messaging angle, and then you can go grab one of those comparative reports to dig into the why, which is great. Nice. All right, I have 2 more questions for you, Quinn. 2 more reports. So I attended Savannah's event a couple months ago where she was talking about some Black Friday formats and hooks that I should try, and I stole a bunch of them, and I would like to know which ones are working. How can I make a report for that?
I wonder if I have a hook tactic. We can jump in, we can use the hook tactic AI tag. I would probably, we could follow that same kind of flow and evaluate different hook tactics in the comparison report. We can also dive in straight to a top performing report, look at our top spenders, our top performing content, bring in that tag just so we have that general hook tactic. And then we can start evaluating more creative or hook oriented metrics. So hook score, thumbs top, first frame retention. For shorter videos, maybe 25% video play rate gives some handy info. You can dive into creative analytics or creative insights and see audience retention. There's a variety of ways to start kind of splitting and understanding those first few seconds of audience retention. Hook tactics really helpful on the tag side because, with naming conventions, even if you were labeling your hooks, and I've seen some brands do it where they're like verbatim, word for word, putting the hook in. And if I change one word in that hook, it's technically different, but how different is it really? Are we getting that, hair splitting in our analysis? Hook tactics is great because it kind of broadens out what we're evaluating about these hooks. Are we just asking a question? Are we making a bold statement? Are we, hammering at a big pain point or a problem out of the gate? Is it a relatable problem? Like, what are those kind of broad trends in our hooks, and which of those are capturing attention the best? And so I would probably bring in that hook tactic just to understand and spot patterns in top performers. And then I would pull in some of those hook-oriented creative metrics to evaluate performance.
Love it. And since this is a screenshot, I wish I could show it here, but if you're ever unsure about any of these AI tags too, and I feel like hook tactic is the one that we get the most questions about, you can just hover over any of these tags and it will give you a little brief description about what that means. So it'll probably tell you if then means that you literally phrased a hook, if this, then that. A question is like literally a question. Relatability is like, POV when you have this like relatable experience that people talk about on TikTok, for example. So it's really all about like that tactic in the hook and why that's working, which is a great way to like kind of look at like zoom out from the actual word for word hook and talk about the tactic that's used in the hook, which is great. All right, last question about a report specifically. During this time of year, there's not too many learnings I'm taking other than like, what did I do super well that I'm really leveraging during Black Friday? But for all intents and purposes with this whole Andromeda update too, and knowing that so much of paid social is reflective of what's going on organic social, what I would love to know is like, what actually stopped the scroll? Like of all things in any of my ads during Black Friday, while the feed is more crowded and people are more distracted than ever, what got people's attention? What kind of metrics can I look for in a top ads report that can give me any indication of that?
So we've got a couple that come in, and I think there's a couple different ways you can start to dive into this. So like I like the idea of diving into engagement and commentary, especially if you've got like a robust or a small, like ready to jump in and action on social comments team. I actually built a report for someone yesterday who was looking to do that. And we just filtered, they would say basically any ad or any creative that gets comments, like 10 or more comments, we want to be ready to jump in and respond to them, or at least see what's going on. What is the narrative? What's the comm? So jumping in, figuring out if you have criteria like that, add a filter, say comments greater than 10. And now we're going to surface any of those creatives that match that parameter. And then I would bring in, you'll see in this screenshot, we've got comments, shares, click-through rate, percent likes. And so I think those three are probably the most helpful in evaluating, one, just engagement. Are people interacting with that content more than just, watching the first 3 seconds? Thumbs up's great, but it doesn't tell the full story. And this is just a really good indicator of like, okay, awesome. Maybe they didn't make a purchase, but now we've got a new audience member. We've at least filled our funnel for Q1 next year because we got someone liking our content. Narratively, they're engaged with us. Maybe we informed them of a problem, or at least our solution to that problem that they weren't aware of before. That's great. And that's good to know as we're diving into this. And now paid team, organic team, they're working hand in hand. They're talking to each other. Friendships are being made. And that's just going to help everybody all around.
We love friendship. I think the one thing I would add about comments too is like lots of people talk about reviews, looking at customer reviews to get customer insights, but not a lot of people talk about comments. And the way that I like to look at comments is if you look at your reviews, it's people who've already bought your product. If you look at comments, it's either people who already bought your product and were excited enough about it that they left a public Facebook comment that their grandma might have seen, or it's people who had some kind of negative reaction or a question or a concern or something like that, and they've also left that on your ad. So either way, like that's a gold mine, and it's a gold mine especially of like objections for objection busting. A lot of people will see like people nagging on the price, but I've actually seen a lot of ads just completely take off because people are commenting just on the messaging of the ad. I'm pretty sure we had a customer this morning say that they were getting a lot of comments because it was like a shoe brand and the guy had like a hairy leg or something. One brand that I worked with was a denim brand, and we said something about like look good while working hard, and we got all of these blue collar guys being like, I don't care how I look if I'm working hard. But then we had a lot of people buying that ad, or buying the jeans from that ad. So those comments were helping. So if there's a lot of comments on an ad, dive in there and you could find something really, really interesting. And I agree 100%, Grace. Reddit threads also incredible, especially if you have if your brand is well known enough to have its own thread. We have some customers who have entire, what are they called, subreddits that are dedicated to their product. It's like so helpful and so informative to learn about your customer and like get direct messaging, like word for word things that you can repeat back to them in ads. It's incredible. Nice. Okay. Last thing we're going to talk about is just how to do some instant creative analysis in motion. So John, this is the thing that I was talking about that I think might answer your question. So we have this new feature. Previously we had like analyze an ad. We had these like kind of like report level tasks, creative level tasks, but we have this new thing called analyze this report that you'll notice on any top ads report. Quinn, you want to talk me through this?
Yeah. So with this report, just a couple of different ways we can do this. The most bare bones, easiest way to do it is we build that top performing report. Maybe we put in criteria for what are our winners, or maybe we just leave it, as is, sort by spend, and then we'll have this analyze this report button right above. One thing to note is we just recently made an update to incorporate descriptions into or factor into that AI process. It is still very much a work in progress. It's a little experimental, and it's not going to completely override whatever your initial analysis is. But if you want to add some additional context on what this report is or what you're trying to gain out of this output, throw it in the description, and that'll help the AI run a better general output. Once you've done that, you've gotten any filters going, any sorting going, and then you've added your description, hit analyze this report. And in just a few minutes in that inbox section, you're going to see a full output populate. That is essentially a TLDR on like what's working, what's not working, what are the broad themes and trends that we're finding in that report. And it'll highlight specific assets throughout that report that are doing really well, that maybe aren't doing super well, and in certain cases, give you recommendations on what you can do to improve them. And then there is also a follow-up feature below that is super experimental. I won't fully plug it because we're messing around with it, trying to build it up, and I don't want to make any hard promises, but I definitely recommend checking it out if you have some free time. Follow up with the report and say, oh, I have an idea here. What do you think about it? Can you, give me an idea around this asset? I'm not going to be prescriptive because we are just kind of building it as of right now. So I'll leave it there before I blab on too much.
Nice. Yeah. So what I love about this is that basically any of these top ads reports that we talked about using, like leveraging the tags or your naming conventions or just filtering down into specific pieces of your Black Friday, Cyber Monday strategy, you can run analyze this ad on all of those reports. And then if you want to like copy paste a little output, send it to your team, I'm pretty sure you can actually just share the whole report directly with your team. So during Black Friday, when your mind is mush and you've had 17 espressos, okay, maybe not 17. I already know what Quinn is going to say. That's too much espresso. Maybe 2, 3, 5 espressos a day. And you're just like desperate for somebody to answer a question for you. You can just click that button and you can get that initial analysis to keep your team moving. And then even when you're done with Black Friday, you're wrapping up and you're putting reports together. This could be really helpful just to like get that spark going and get yourself in the right direction for all of your reporting, which is great. Nice. Okay, that's it. We made it. Here's like the last slide. It's just a little list of all of the reports that we talked through. There were a lot of comparative reports that we also like broke into top ads reports, but for all intents and purposes, this is like our full reporting list of how we're going to analyze all of our Black Friday creative. And I think last step is just Q&A. If there's any leftover Q&As in the Q&A tab, if there's any other questions that people have that they want to drop in the chat, let us at them. What have we got?
Yes. All right. I think Emily, 3 minutes into the call, threw this one out, and so I want to give it some attention. I have not thought of a response yet, so we're gonna do it live. Let's go ahead. And I'm figuring it out. How do I do this? Oh, did that do it? All right, sweet. Emily asked, with CPCs on meta prospecting struggling, what key metrics are you guys attributing to a successful ad aside from purchases or BFCM? All right, that's a really solid question. I think, Alysha, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it, but what I would say is like, one, I don't know how, Andromeda is one thing, but BFCMs also are always going to be a period of heightened CPMs. Everyone's bidding each other or bidding against each other to get their ads out in the marketplace, out in people's eyes. So that is fairly standard looking at CPCs. I would probably default on the click side, default to click-through rate outbound. How many clicks are we getting to our site? And how often are we seeing people, at least consider our product? Another thing we didn't talk about today, but I think is really helpful when evaluating offer types, is really digging into one, click-through rate, click to add to cart, and then click to purchase. So understanding out of all those individuals that are clicking and going to our site, what percentage are adding to cart, what percentage are ending up making a purchase. And looking at those discrepancies or looking at outliers there can give us a lot of insight into how messaging is hitting, how products are hitting, how effective our landing page is. For instance, if I see a really high click to add to cart, 40% of people that click are adding our product to their cart, and then 0.5% are actually making a purchase. That's a pretty big red flag to me. That's saying like, hey, let me put on my e-com hat real quick. We might have some friction on the site. We might have loaded up our checkout cart with a bunch of widgets or like add-ons. Things are slowing down. Maybe the offer on the landing page isn't matching up with what we're purporting on the ad itself, and people are getting upset. Let's dive into that. Let's take a look. But ultimately, just evaluating offers, evaluating messaging can be really helpful with those post-click metrics that aren't exactly CPA or ROAS. I wish there was a way for Emily to be like, good answer or bad answer. I don't know if that's possible or not. Emily, if you're still with us, feel free to send something in the chat.
My answer to that question would have been like so much more abstract, which is like, how do you define success? So if you're not defining success by purchases, then what else are you looking for as an indication of success? Like maybe it is that like clicking through and adding to the cart so that they've gotten to that extent. Is that your definition of success? Or maybe do you want them to watch the whole ad so that they know something about your product? Like I think it depends largely on the actual ad too, like what the contents of the ad are and what the expected behavior would be. So there's a lot of definitions of success aside from purchases. So like, I think it starts with just that, but like looking at this ad, if they weren't going to purchase from it, how would I define success? And then what metrics can I look at? And then just asking yourself like, well, if they did this, why didn't they purchase? Or was that even the expected behavior to begin with? So yeah, very abstract. Nice. I want to answer this one selfishly, and I know Quinn's going to know why exactly. Okay. We get feedback like this all the time about our AI tags where people want to change them or correct them. And I think visual format is so interesting because a lot of people call things different things. They call them visual format. They call it visual framework. They call it concept. They call it theme. They call it structure. They call it a bunch of different things. So our visual format AI tag is very specific to what I would call like the fundamental structure or framework of the ad. So that could be like something like an authority ad, where like the whole structure of the ad is defined by the fact that an authority figure is speaking about something in the ad, or a comment response is because you're responding to a comment, or an us versus them is because you're comparing your product to another. So it's very specific in what is in that category. So I would just like look at the ad and ask yourself like, okay, if I think that this is the wrong category or this is the wrong tag, what else might that thing be called? So if you're looking at it and you're like, well, I would have called this like problem solution or clear skin or something like that. That might belong to like the messaging angle. Or if it's something that might be more attributed to like intended audience, check that out. We didn't talk about asset type for AI tags, but we do divide things a little bit more granularly in that you're not going to see the term UGC in visual format either. So we have asset type, which tells you within video, it's a UGC video, it's an animation, it's a hybrid, it's a high production, things like that. And with images, it's product images, it's lifestyle images, it's product or lifestyle images, it's animation or illustration, things like that. So if you're looking for UGC, that's where it belongs. And then you can look within UGC, which visual format am I using? So that's how I would answer that question, is like wondering if like maybe it belongs somewhere else, or if it's really specific and niche, please reach out to anybody that you know at Motion or literally DM me directly. I love to hear people's questions about AI tags so I can improve it. But the hardest part is just like the language that people use. It's common language, but oftentimes categorized differently. So yeah, that's what I would say. Not even sure if that was helpful, but that's what I would say. Yeah.
I would add one. Oh, Taylor responded. Hold on. Let me read it.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
That might be a case where like, in some instances, let's say, for example, like it's HexCloud that uses Gordon Ramsay, right? Like the LLM is probably going to know that's Gordon Ramsay, probably, but maybe not. It's very possible that it wouldn't. So it could just be an instance where like the LLM looked at this particular celebrity, and unless it was like Hailey Bieber, maybe it just didn't catch on. Or I don't know, maybe the LLM is like, I don't know who Hailey Bieber is. I'm not sure. The LLM is weird. You know, you can't predict it. So if it mistagged a celebrity that it didn't make it very clear, like maybe they didn't state their name, it wasn't written somewhere, it wasn't as clear as it could have been. It also could be mistagged. That's very possible. That you should have the ability to change it to celebrity. If you feel, that's why we gave you the full taxonomy of visual formats, just in case for that particular category that you might also be correct about that one, you can swap it to celebrity. But I would only swap it to celebrity if you know for sure it's a celebrity. That one sounds like a pretty solid case. You've convinced me. You might be the only one so far.
I was going to say, I was like, it is a rarity. To do that, by the way, open up that Creative Insights modal in the overview section. You'll be able to modify those tags. On the same kind of note, one thing we've talked a lot about internally in regards to Andromeda and Meta's model, its new system for bucketing and organizing creatives. Meta's now using LLMs and machine learning, and insert buzzwords. But all that we need to know is that Meta's using LLMs to group and organize and identify similarity between creatives. And so this, at least as far as we know, is one of our best kind of approximations on how an LLM looks at your creative, perceives your creative, groups your creative. And so even if there are like slight mismatches, or if you feel compelled and you don't like how it's bucketed, it is worth giving pause and saying, well, I might think one way, but I have additional context. I'm not an LLM. And ultimately, it doesn't matter what I think, because Meta has, they've got controls. And if their LLM puts it in the same bucket as something else and I don't want it there, the only control I have is a creative change, is an iteration, is a modification of that asset. So I think it'll be interesting to see how people use our AI tags to ascertain how Meta's behaving. And I think that's something to keep in the back of your mind as you're evaluating how things are getting organized.
Nice. I see another question that I want to answer, which is this one. Can you elaborate on the gifting audience? My product is wall decor targeting moms 30 to 50 years old. I don't know if you've thought of this before, but like, can you elaborate on like which gifting audience? But my first thought is, if this is decor for moms who are 30 to 50 years old, I mean, if your mom is 50, maybe you're old enough to probably buy her a gift. If your mom is 30, you might only be like 10, so you might not be quite old enough. But my first thought is either daughters or sons who are like, what the heck do I get my mom? Because I don't know about you, but I usually default to a kitchen appliance, and my mom's kitchen is getting very full. She does not need another KitchenAid mixer in a different color, or a blender, or a toaster, or whatever. Wall decor would be great. So you could target like daughters or daughter-in-laws even, or sons who like want to get their mom a gift. Or I don't know, when I was a kid, like, and I was too young to like spend actual money and get my mom a gift, my dad used to take us to get a gift. So it could also be like the older sister who wants to help their younger sister get their mom a gift, or the dad who wants to have a gift that his wife can get them. So just thinking about like who would buy this this product that I'm selling for my target audience who is not my target audience. And you can just speak to them and explain like why it would be a great gift for your target audience. And sometimes inevitably that ad might actually go to your target audience too, because you're explaining why my mom loved this gift, or why my wife loved this gift from my kids. And then that person might actually still see that ad and be like, oh man, like her daughter got her this gift and she loved it. Now I want to buy it. So yeah, just thinking about it that way.
Great point. And then also like I would need to see the product. I'm assuming there might be like specific mom messaging on the wall decor, but not getting super hung up or super in the weeds on that particular audience and branching out. Because obviously we see moms and we think, sons and daughters, but also that I'm assuming that mom's got friends. Maybe they meet monthly for Bunko. Maybe they need a Bunko gift, or else they're going to show up empty-handed to Bunko. If you don't know what Bunko is, look it up. It's awesome. Maybe it's someone who's moving into a new house. It's bare. They don't have interior decorating style. They need some help from their friends. It could be a variety of other relationships. So really not getting too in the weeds on like one specific relationship to this person as a gifter, and really thinking broadly, thinking creatively about like what relationships does that person have in their life? Who might be getting them a gift? What circumstances would gifting be appropriate or necessitated? And that's just going to open up a variety of avenues for you to get creative in your creatives.
Nice. Okay, there is one last question that I want to answer, but I'm going to answer it with maybe a 1 or 2 word sentence. On behalf of our CEO, is there an API for Motion so you can automate reporting with a workflow like N8N? Not yet, but maybe soon, maybe someday. We'll let you know.
Nothing to add there. Yeah.
Nothing to add there. It's a thought in our brains. I'll just let you know it's definitely a thought in our brains.
It's time to ship more winning creative with Motion's creative analytics platform that helps you scale winners into unicorns and helps you figure out where your ads might need just a little more help. Join over 2,100 teams shipping winning ads with Motion like Fiori, True Classic, Hexclad, and more. Get a free VIP tour today, and you can see how Motion can help your creative strategists and your media buyers speak the same language.